Excuse me, madam. You're standing still in a no parking zone. If you don't get a move on that body, I'll be forced to give you a ticket. So get with it.
Okay, so I'm talking about myself in high school and all that, but the main reason is, the foundation of me. And let me just go back to my parents. This picture right here up on the wall, that's actually my parents. It's my mom and my pops. My dad was from the neighborhood. My mom wasn't from the neighborhood. She lived in the White Fence neighborhood of East Los Angeles. And like I was saying, man, they split up, but they definitely had an impact on my musical, what I'm doing today. I started off, like I said, my dad playing doo-wop when he was taking me to the record stores with his friend Puppy. I gotta say Puppy because Puppy from my dad's neighborhood kind of like mentored my dad, so Puppy was like above my dad with knowledge. Like Puppy was the guy who like really in depth knew it, and my dad was kind of like right there with them, or like his little Puppy was his mentor for sure. And my dad was always making his own tapes and playing them. My dad had like lowrider trucks. This is like my dad, the 80s and 90s. So my dad, he had Impalas and all that in the 70s, but when the 80s came, for some reason, my dad gravitated towards mini trucks. So my dad had like mini trucks. It was pretty cool. Like I remember like my dad dropping me off at high school, like in a slammed ass mini truck with fucking like, deep dish rims, fucking blasting fucking, his music, Alpine pull out, fucking the whole system going. My dad was like a young buck, and I remember getting dropped off feeling all cool, like, yeah, man, I got my dad's boat, his mini truck and shit. Yeah, they definitely played a role in what I listened to, as far as playing music and oldies. My dad playing records, and my mom, and they're from two different neighborhoods, like I said. So when they split up when I was 14, that's just how I ended up in West Covina. Yeah, so I'm talking about my parents, and I keep bringing up the split up when I was like 14 years old. They were together since they were like high school sweethearts. Since they were 18, they were together for like 18 years before they split up. My dad, God bless his soul, he was a heroin addict. He was a functioning heroin addict. He wasn't like one of those deadbeat heroin addicts. He was a functioning, at work every day, didn't miss a day of work. Matter of fact, I think I remember him like getting a reward for like never missing a day of work for 10 years. And he got like a 10-year plaque award for like never missing a day of work. And he was a really bad heroin addict. Like he had a very expensive habit. Him and his brother, which is my Uncle Raymond. They were both heroin addicts from the neighborhood. And my dad was a heroin addict ever since he was like really young. So my mom really put up with him. And that was I think the oldies and the doo-wop and the music was really his escape as well. We have so many cigarette burn holes in my couch. I remember growing up in our front room, our couches, we had to constantly every couple months, we had to get new couches and throw out the old couches because my dad would fall asleep with the cigarette in his hand, and it would just burn the couch, put holes like all on the armrests of the couches. And no one really knew that I dealt with that, my dad being a heroin addict, but he was a functioning heroin addict. He was a good man, and he provided for the family, and we made it work, man. I even went with my dad to do some stuff to acquire the money to get his drugs, because if not, he would get really sick. And so eventually it took a toll on my mom, and I think that's one of the major reasons why they split up. But yeah, it's out there, it's known. My dad was a functioning heroin addict. He was a heroin addict, and I remember a lot of bad things going on, like my mom pulling the knife on him, and him he was really addicted, man. And he was also addicted to his music too. So he had two addictions. Watching my dad be a heroin addict, I was so numb to it, man. Like, honestly, if you live that life, I didn't really take a stand on who I'm rooting for. Like, oh, mom, I feel your pain and what you're going through, or dad. I was just trying to cope. I didn't, it may sound selfish, but I didn't care what my mom was going through. I didn't care what they were going through because of his addiction. I was trying to fucking just, have peace in the house, and just have a regular family, a normal family. So I wasn't really rooting for my mom or rooting for my dad in an aspect of that. I remember just like, it became normal. Like, it was just so normal. Like the holes in the couch, my dad nodding off. Like, if that tripped me out, like, no, man, that was normal. I grew up ever since I was a baby. Like, I thought that was normal. I thought every man probably did that, Up until a certain age, of course, I learned that wasn't the case. I was just numb to it, and it was just normal, everyday routine. We would go to Monte, we would go to the Klingermans, he would get his fix. I remember, maybe 8, 9 years old, and he would leave me in his car, and he would go upstairs. He would go in the apartment complex, and he'd be in there for hours. And me and my brother would be in the car, left alone, because he was slamming with his homies up in the apartment complex, and we didn't go in there. So that's what my mom would get pissed off about. My mom would find that shit out, that, hey, you left the kids in the car, what the fuck's wrong with you, blah blah. We used to go to the Whittier Narrows Park, which was like this weird place, but a lot of junkies would go there, a lot of heroin addicts would go there. You find a spot by the lake, and they have these bamboo caves that were like hidden, and you would see like other junkies in there slamming. So it got to the point where I got older, and I'm watching my dad slam. Basically, I'm in these bamboo caves, but he would take us with us, because me and my brother, we were young, and we were like chasing lizards, looking at rabbits, and like looking at ducks. And my dad's back there with his homies, and they're like, they're slamming right there. They're putting the cotton ball, soaking up the heroin, they're lighting it. I saw it all with my own eyes. I was like really young, but I didn't think nothing of it, bro. I was just like, okay, well, dad and his friends, they're having fun. I knew they were getting high, but I didn't know what heroin does to you or how it makes you feel or whatever. And then we would just end up leaving. And it's weird, because my dad and his homies, when they got high, for the first hour, they were like energetic, happy, they're happy as fuck. I just never forget. They were so happy that they got their score, and they slammed it, and we would go, and by about an hour later, man, they would make it to his dad's house, which is my grandfather's house. And they'd just be nodding out on the couch playing records and shit, just like nodding out on the couch playing the jams. Also, being with my dad as a heroin addict, this is something I really never talk about. This is how I learned to drive. You want some crazy stories, I'm gonna give you not crazy stories, but you want my story, I'm gonna give you my story. Like I said, my dad was a good man. He provided for the family. He never tried to like hurt nobody or nothing like that. He was just, doing bad shit to support his habits. So I remember being like 10 years old, and like I said, my dad had pickup trucks, and my dad would make a game out of it on the Saturdays when he needed money. He would wake up me and my brother and say, hey, you want to go with me? We're going to go aluminum hunting. So basically, we would jump in my dad's truck, and we would go to like the City of Industry, or like, LA area where all the factories are at, right? And it's like a Saturday or Sunday, and all these factories are closed, right? And my dad had a hustle mentality, to support his habit. He would recycle aluminum, but he wasn't recycling aluminum cans. He was after like the big heavy aluminum metals or copper. I remember taking spools of copper to the house and stripping it down, and all the copper inside, it took a couple of days or a week, depending how fat the copper wire was and how much he got. But we'd strip that down. I'm like 10 years old, stripping down copper from my dad. Didn't know why. I just knew we're aluminum hunting, and my dad was gonna make money. I'm reflecting back, I know why. But we would go aluminum hunting with my dad, me and my little brother, and he would break into all these companies, with a wire cutter, and break into fences, and he would scope out all these places that had like aluminum cylinders. We had a magnet. We all had a magnet. That's what was fun. So we would all break into these warehouses and stuff. And I had a magnet, my brother had a magnet, and my dad said, this magnet, if it sticks to something, it's no good. But if it looks like metal and it doesn't stick, call me. Like, it's Monday. That's aluminum. So to us, he made like a game. So me and my brother with the magnets, we're just like touching everything that looks metal like magnet, and we're like, Dad, this doesn't stick. And he's like, yeah, it's stainless. My dad knew his metals, like stainless steel, it's fucking nickel. Like, he had the price breakdown for like all that shit, bro, because that was like his hustle. So he's like, oh no, it's nickel. Nickel doesn't pay that much money. It's like 3 cents a pound, and it's too much work. We want clean extrusion. If you find an extrusion aluminum, that was like top dollar. So we would just do that, man. We would aluminum hunt all morning long and night long till we filled up the back of that truck. And this is back in the 80s, bro. So my dad would go to like the aluminum recycling centers, and he would like just unload, and they would weigh it by the pound. And I swear to God, man, every weekend my dad was making like I've seen him make $800 one time, from that. And the reason why I learned how to drive at 10 years old is because my dad would teach me how to drive this truck and stick shift. You know, I didn't know he was probably plotting, but I thought he was just teaching me how to drive, and which he was. So it was probably killing two birds with one stone. But finally, I was like 11 or 12 years old, and we're aluminum hunting, and he's like, drop me off and drive to the back of the warehouse. So I felt really cool. Like I would drop my dad off, and there's nobody there. It's like ghost town. Like I'm on these empty blocks, and I'm in this truck, and I'm driving this fucking pickup truck. I'm like in first, second gear, and I'm like driving down the street, and I'm like gonna wrap around to the back of the warehouse to like go get my dad, you know. So that's really where I learned how to drive, was my dad teaching me, because we're committing crimes, man. I don't even know it. You're learning about my childhood, kind of. This is my childhood, you know, going with my dad to do, you know, aluminum hunting, and, you know, watching him slam and helping him make money to get his drugs. And, you know, I'm like 11, 12 years old. This goes on for the next couple of years. And finally, my mom had enough. And how did it affect me? You know, my parents split up, and it was really devastating, man. 'Cause besides my dad being an addict and all that, I still love the man with all my heart. Like, he was like the family man. He was reliable. Never, you know, he was a good man. You know, he wasn't like some like bum or nothing like that. You know what I mean? When my dad split, man, it just tore the whole family apart. And it was that time period, like when I hit high school. So that's why skateboarding saved my life, bro. Otherwise, if it wasn't for skateboarding, I don't know what the fuck might have happened, you know. So I went to school. My parents randomly split up. I'm like in awe, you know. I'm like, fuck, my family is done and devastated, and what's gonna happen to my life now? Because, you know, at 14 years old, when your parents split up, like, it's like the end of the world. But and it was. I found skateboarding, and I found people who skate, and that's why I got focused and so good at skateboarding, because all my whatever I was going through mentally, man, I just skated. I just skated it out. Just skated. I did some crazy shit, attempted crazy shit, tried some ballsy shit, and that's why I got good, because I didn't give, you know, I was crazy.